probably about 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, basically started. I was working basically with our business. What we do is we've been acquiring aged and kind of unused Amazon accounts and then selling them on. And basically, it's kind of like digital real estate, right? So we were selling to a company,
I know
and
that business. It's a cool business.
yeah, so essentially that's what we've been doing. And last time we spoke, Roland, basically what happened was we was just, acquiring them and selling them onto one person. He was like, I've got to put the brakes on because he had too many that, you couldn't sell them quick enough, basically. So what happened from then is like what we do, our business model essentially is we partner with companies and do paid on performance and say, hey, look, let's take your trash can assets cash flow for you. So I was like, why don't we just help you sell these, right? So we went on a first date, and the first date went really well. So they've done it was doing like 200 grand in sales. So the last 30 days we've done like 500 grand. So obviously that went well, and I'm like, okay, what's the next steps to essentially acquire some of the company? Because I think we could be able to sell it in 12, 24 months time. So
right.
My question is, how would you kind of transition from the, we're working kind of like, pay for performance, and we've become, pretty close. So, over the last month, because we've got results, we've had a good time in the process. So the question is, how do I transition from that to, okay, let's go, let's do an equity split in the company, because I think this is what we can do over the next 12, 24 months. So how would you approach that, if that makes sense?
Okay. So who am I approaching with that?
I'm approaching the company owner that I've been collaborating with. My goal is to acquire half of the company, or just under half the company, now that we've had a successful kind of first date, if that makes sense.
Right. And so tell me, just so I have it all in one place, what is the first date? What did you accomplish?
Yeah. So essentially what we've done was we came on board. They was doing about 200K in sales a month. And I was selling directly to this company, beforehand. The sales slow. He said, look, I've got to stop buying from you because I've got a backlog of accounts at the moment. So I was like, okay, let me just come on board and help you sell these. So, because that's what we do anyway, right? So we come on board and we got sales to 500,000 in the last 30 days. So probably added about 250 grand in sales to what he kind of was doing, on his own. And
now you want to do what?
Kind of complicated, because now I want to basically acquire half, the equity of half the company, or set up more of a kind of a going steady kind of relationship, if that makes sense.
So tell me, how does sales translate to profits? So that extra 250, let's call it 300 in sales that you added per month, what's the margin on that?
It's about 45%.
45%. Okay. So you're in the neighborhood of, if you add 300,000 in sales, you're in the neighborhood of like 125 in profit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you want half of the whole company or half of the increase, or what?
Yeah. My thinking is I would like half of the company, because in terms of where I think we can go in 12, 24 months, I think if we build this, basically he's been generating sales kind of despite no marketing, no sales. It's just kind of been happening, right? So we've come on board, brought so much new lease of life, and brought a lot of, opportunities of where we can grow. But without us in place, he wouldn't probably do that. So my outcome is to say, okay, in 12, 24 months, I think we could sell this company and both have a great exit.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, like if I'm looking at it, so then at a roughly 45% margin, you got 225K current profit. And this is per month, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Is this per month? And you've added $125,000 a month. And what did you charge for doing the 125K? So you added 300,000 in sales, basically, or 275. What do you get for that currently?
So what we've done was essentially I brought these Amazon accounts that we had, and we basically sold to his audience and done a profit share on them. Because it's essentially like I've had inventory, and then we just done a profit share selling to his people, basically.
Okay. So you're making your money on a profit share that is with him and his people. So is there money for him in that too? I'm just trying to understand where your money is currently.
So our money's been coming from, we've been doing a profit share. So I had a bunch of these accounts. I just basically got access to the email list, the audience, and basically sold our inventory to his audience. And he carried on selling his inventory that he had in place. And I was selling ours, and we done a profit share on the ones I brought to the table.
Okay. And so would you be, if you went into business with him, would you guys both be pooling the stuff that you're making profit on now as well? Or would it be, or would you be keeping that and just kind of looking to get part of that business of his?
Yeah, that's kind of part of the question, because I wasn't really, because he's got, a bunch of inventory of these seller accounts. I've got a bunch as well. And I was like, didn't know how to kind of approach that, because it's kind of, there's inventory there. But I was thinking just on perhaps all the new ones that we acquire together, we could just go, we could just split that down the middle or close to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that's the place to start, is just say, let's acquire some together and test, before he's like, ultimately what might make sense would be for us to take our two businesses and put them together, because I've got inventory, you've got inventory. Then we have more inventory, we have more customers, we have our ability to sell with the thing, the abilities that you've got, and everybody wins. And it's a pretty significant business, given it's making about 3 million in profit, right? That he's got right now, if he's around 225, 250 a month in profit. But half of that was what you added by the stuff that you do. So, to me, you're in a very strong position, I think, just to say, look, I've been doing this way. I'd like to just come in and say, let's do 50-50, going forward. Now, if I'm him, I basically would say, well, how about, and this would be my fallback position if I'm you also, how about if we just do a baseline deal and say, well, you're at 500K a month right now. Let's take this thing and build it to something significantly larger and split the upside until we get to 2 or 3 times. And then let's go 50-50 at that point. So that way you've got some performance, stuff together. So he's not losing anything, because that's the biggest challenge you have when you come into a deal like that and say, give me half. I'm like, okay, well, I'll give you half. I'm making half of what I was making before, unless we grow, and I'm giving you half thinking that we're going to grow. And you've proved it. So like you've actually already done it, which is good and bad, because now you've made it more valuable. But, yeah. But I would think that, like in your case, I'd say, look, we've already doubled the business once. I'd like to basically say, if we work together and double it again, that we come in and we own 50-50. You're still up, he's still up if you do that at that point, because of what you've already added. And then we're going to grow from there, because obviously I'm not doing this just to come in and, and make a little bit of money and not have upside for both of us. That's what I would suggest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And there's just essentially, because currently, obviously, we're both making profit right now. He's making good profit. We're just getting rolling and getting started. But essentially, we're building the business right at the moment, right? So are you just saying, and this is why I'm kind of a little bit reluctant I wanted to jump on, after month 1, just to get it kind of on the table with him, because we're building his marketing assets. We're building his, his bonding with his audience. There's literally been no marketing before that. So we're doing, and really building assets that can scale, right? So, and to really help build that long term. So, are you saying you just basically approach him and say,
I'd say this. I'd say, what's his name?
Jay-Z.
What's his first name? Jay-Z. I was like, Jay-Z, I'm really excited at what we've done. And I love working with you. We've doubled your business basically since we've come in just this short period of time. And I love you and love working with you. I also am all about building brands and selling things. And so what we've been able to do is increase the value of your business pretty dramatically. And I know we're going to continue to do that. I don't do that just for income. So I'm looking for exits, and I'm looking to build companies to sell. And so when I'm looking at the opportunities, I can go and do this, with other folks. I can go and, spend more time in my business, but we've already got something successful here that we've already doubled the value of. And I'd like to go forward and do that. I'm not going to do that on an income only basis going forward. So I'd love to talk about the possibility of how we could work together and both make a whole lot more money. The way I think that we could do that is, and then whatever your offer is, right? That's, I mean, literally had that conversation yesterday with a software company. So it's, you know, and that gives you an indication of what is that person's, you know, feeling on going forward, because if they're not open to that right now, they're never going to be. And all you're doing is making it more expensive for you to acquire their business. And if they say no, then I would probably look for somebody else to start doing what you do with. I wouldn't stop doing it with him until you find him, but you know, you've put them on notice, you know, like yesterday I did with these people. I said, you know, I love you, mean it. But we don't build other people's brands. We build our brands. So let's do this together, because right now I know you're being approached by other, you know, people that are potentially interested in your company. And I'm talking to other people just like I'm talking to you, but my first choice, you know, and don't say this if it isn't true, but my first choice is to do this deal with you. And so, you know, that's what I would like for it to be, because it sure would suck if we ended up being competitors, you know, which is not a horrible thing for you to throw in there too.
Yeah. Okay. And is it essentially, I watched the training beforehand. So it's just essentially like an earning where it's effective immediately, right?
Correct.
Awesome. All right. That's amazing. I appreciate your help.
Thank you. And then your fallback to that would be if he says, yeah, well, but how do I know that, like, if I give you half my business and I've got half what I had before, you know, that could be bad, because maybe something happens to you. You get hit by a bus and then, you know, your estate has half of the business. Most people don't ask that question because they're not thinking like that. But, you know, but what if it doesn't work out and now you've got half my business and you stop bringing the heat that you've been bringing? You know, maybe you've done everything you could do right now. You know, I don't know, you know, I'm not saying that you couldn't, but what if you just, you know, gave me the shot that you had of all the, you know, the backlog that you had, and now it's not going to be the same. How can I be sure that you're going to do that? Then your fallback to me is either, okay, look, here's what we'll do. We'll agree on these performance things. We'll say that so long as the business hits these milestones on the next 3 quarters, we'll do it this way, right? So basically, we'll do the deal right now. And if for some reason we don't hit this milestone in Q3, then my interest is reduced or goes away, right? The opposite of that, which I don't like as well, is you have an earn in where you say, when we hit that, then I get this much equity. I'd rather have it and lose it than I would have to work to get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So effective immediately, based on we hit these, basically.
Correct. Yeah. And then your biggest fallback position would be a baseline deal to say, okay, look, I'm not going to, and this is kind of hard for people to say no to. Look, I don't want to take anything away from you. I'm not trying to take any of the stuff that you've, you know, built together. I made my profit. You made your profit. We were happy with that. You're at $500,000 right now. What I'd like to do though, is going forward, let's just baseline that and say that anything that's in excess of $500,000, we're going to split 50-50. And then when we get to $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever number you want to pick, I'd probably say when we get to $1 million, when we get to $1 million, then it's just 50-50 across the board. Okay. Because I've proved myself. I've not taken anything out of your pocket. I've already doubled your business once. That'll be another doubling again. And then we're 50-50 going forward. I'll have proved myself twice. We've already had an opportunity to work together and we like each other. This way, there's absolutely no risk and only upside for you. And if they say no to that, then, you know, go look for other people.